Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's DAF. Bava Kamma DAF Samach, we are right on top at the second line. Shilach biat pikeach, ha-pikeach chayev v'chulu. The Mishnah mentions that if a person actually is melabe means he blows into the fire to get it going, he's the one that generated the fire that went out and causes damage. He's responsible. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Apparently, there were two versions of how to spell this word liba, which means to blow into the fire and to get it burning, get it going. Man datani liba loy mishtamish. The one who had a girsa liba with a lamed, that's fine. Uman datani niba loy mishtamish. Likewise, the girsa which used a nun, spelled it as niba, that's also not a mistake. It's also a correct version. They both mean the same thing. Man datani liba loy mishtamish. Liba is also fine. Dechsiv belabas eish. So this was when Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Vayar malach Hashem elav belabas eish, in this burning conflagration in the sneh bush. So you see belabas eish is referring to a fire that's burning. Uman datani niba loy b'shtabish. Likewise, niba isn't either a mistake, as we find in a pasuk, d'chsiv beirei niv sefasayim. So the movement of one's lips is called niv sefasayim, and Rashi explains what's that connected to blowing and to kisha'adam medaber. When a person speaks, menam neya sefasav, he moves around his lips, ruach yaitse, and out comes breath, air, ruach. So bottom line, either it's liba or it's niba, it's all basically the same thing. He blew into the fire and conflagrated the fire and got it to spread and to burn. But if libsa haruach, if the wind did that, kulam turin, all these individuals who brought, these various components, the wood, and they're potter, because ultimately, without the ruach coming and being malab and conflagrating a flame, getting it going, nothing would have happened. Tanarabanim. Liba, so if a person actually blows into the fire and kicks it up, the libsa haruach, and the wind came by and contributed its part in kicking up the fire. Who's responsible? Well, it depends. If his own blowing would have done the job, then he's responsible. But if otherwise it would not have spread, he's potter, because it was due to the wind that came along and did that. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? He knows, he expects wind to come, so he's utilizing the wind's services to spread his fire. Amai, so why is he exempt? Lihavi, let's consider it, like in Shabbos, there's a malacha called zoire, right? Winnowing. So what does winnowing consist of? You're utilizing the wind, right? You're taking a tool, you're throwing up the grain, and you're having the wind blow away the scrap, the chaff, right? And that's a malacha, despite the fact that without the wind you couldn't accomplish your target, your goal. Apparently, utilizing the wind as it comes along is sort of incorporated into your act, into your mass, and relates to you here as well. Sure, it was the wind that actually spread the fire, but your mass in conjunction with the wind accomplished this goal. So you should be accountable. Amai. Let it be like a fellow who's winnowing, throws up stuff into the air, and the wind comes and helps him out, and he's chayiv. Amar Abaye, Hachab my Skinner was speaking. Well, he didn't expect the wind to come. Keep going. Shaliba mitzad echad. V'libsay haruach mitzad acher. So the Gemara figured like this. In the Hava Amina, we figured that he was blowing in the same direction as the wind. So he was blowing to the east, and the wind came up. So basically, the wind helped him out, right? But it turns out that no, he was going the other way. He was going on one side, and the wind came on the other side. So it doesn't relate to what he did. And therefore, we can't compare it to the case of the Zohar of Ruach Masayati. So again, the Gemara in Havamina figured he's blowing, in the same sort of spot as the wind is blowing. So he blew a little bit, the wind helped him out. No, he blew here and the wind blew there. So there's no connection between the two, and you can't, relate what the wind did to what he's doing. And in terms of what he did, he would not have accomplished. He would not have caused this damage. Rava Amar, I have another pshat. When he began being melabe, it was just a pretty placid wind. It was just a soft breeze, a commonly occurring breeze, which Rashi explains would not have been mab'ir the fire, would not have gotten the fire to spread. And suddenly comes this sudden gust of wind, unusual wind, which conflagrated the flames and got it going. So Rashi explains, since it isn't something which he expected or anticipated, you can't compare it to the fellow who's winnowing, who's asking, he's waiting for the Ruach Metsuya, the regular wind, to come help him. This was totally unexpected and beyond the realm of his activities. Reb Zera Amar has a third pshat. Kigoyin that Samra Tzemuri. He wasn't even being malabe. He wasn't really blowing, Rashi says. Tzemuri is a lashon of itshta tzemirta, warmth, heat. If anything, it was just like blowing, it was like sort of breathing out with his breath. Beneshima, Rashi says, like a person who warms his hands up in the winter, blows into his hands. That in itself would not have caused any conflagration, any spreading of the fire. And then the wind came along and sort of, got it going. And Taisus adds a new point. He says that his warm wind should have, sort of canceled the cool wind coming from nature, from the outside, because the heat and the cold sort of cancel each other out. So if anything, he didn't expect his blowing to sort of join up with the gust of wind and get the fire going, so he's not responsible. Rav Ashi Omar, here comes a fourth pshat. Again, the question was, he was malabe a bit, and the ruach came and finished the libui and got the fire going. Well, let us combine the two, and he's sort of using the wind to accomplish his goal. Says Rav Ashi, it's different than Zohar on Shabbos. Rav Ashi Amar ki amrinan Zohar v'ruach masayate. When do we hold a person accountable for doing Zohar with the ruach's assistance? Hanimilin in Shabbos. That only pertains to Hilchos Shabbos. The meleches machsheves asra Torah. When it comes to Hilchos Shabbos, we work based on this precept, meleches machsheves. And Rashi says, "Neskaima machshavtei denichale beruach masayate." It's about accomplishing. It's about achieving results. Meleches Shabbos is about getting your goal done, building that building, right? So ultimately, whether I did it totally myself or I utilized some tools, even tools of nature, like air, like wind, it relates to me. It combines with my activity, so that contribution relates to me and I'm accountable for it. So that's regarding Shabbos. So if I throw it and the wind comes, it's all sort of one maaseh. But you can apply that concept to Bava Kamma, which speaks about injuring, damaging. There we need directness. But if my maaseh, that slight libui, that small blowing into that would not have done, that would not have caused damage. So we don't reckon with the wind that came along and contributed to the further conflagration, because that's indirectness. I didn't actually directly do that. Grama ba'amu, ugrama b'nezaken pata. We know when it comes to a mazik, if it's not a direct maaseh, I'm pata. So even though to a certain extent, I did sort of allow the wind to come and help, that's a grama. You can't compare it to Shabbos, where ultimately I was looking to accomplish a certain goal by way of utilizing this or that all relates to me, and I'm chayiv. So bottom line, Mishnah says, Libo lipsa ruach, he's potter. Why is it different than Zohar and Shabbos, where using wind, it relates, to the mass and makes me chayav? We have 4 roots. Continues the Mishnah. Hashalech hasabiroi. So a person lights a fire and lets it go, and it consumed v'achla eitzim, wood, or yavanim, or damaged stones, or yafar, or earth. Chayav, you need to pay. Shenemar, the pasuk includes them all. He gives a whole long list of 4 things which the fire could have damaged. Kiseitze eish, so the fire goes out of matzah koitzim and encounters thorns. But echal gadish, it consumes the gadish, the pile of grain, Bava Kamma, or standing, growing grain, sada, or even the field itself, the earth. In all 4 cases, shalim yeshalim. Hamavar sabeira, the one who made the fire has to pay. Now, why does the pasuk have to list all 4 things? Amar Rava, Lamali the kasav rachmana kaitzim and gadish and kama v'sada tzrichi. There's a purpose. The kasav rachmana kaitzim. If only thorns, Havamina would say, well, people tend to be negligent when it comes to thorns, and the Torah wants to sort of put an emphasis on that. Be careful. You'll be responsible for burning the thorns. Kaitzim u'dechiv rachmana. Over there, the Torah hold you accountable. Mishum d'shchiach eish gabayu. It's common that these things, get burnt. Rashi says, Ein b'nei adam yistarin bahen. Rashi says people are not careful. Then typically you just burn the thorns. Hilkach ikalamim is a pasha. So perhaps there's reason to think that a person is a bit careless when he sees thorns. Okay, I'll burn it. Big deal. So he's not being cautious, and that's why the Torah says no, you're chayiv, because you have no business burning the other person's thorns. That's why the Torah emphasizes chiyav. Aval godesh l'shchiach ish gabayu v'l'shchiach the pasha. When it comes to a pile of grain, people are typically careful not to burn grain. It's not shchiach to have fire, not shchiach to be peishea. So there is reason to believe that a person was careful and it was an accident, so maybe I'm not chayiv. And that's why the Torah says no. Ultimately, we hold you accountable. You should have been more careful. Because Rachmana Godish. If the Torah only says Godish, Havamina, I would say, well, Godish, Chiv Rachmana, there you have to pay Mishum Nefzed and Ruba because it's a great financial loss. Who? Avach Koitzim the Efsed Muad, but when it comes to thorns, which are, negligible in terms of value, Eimaloi, so perhaps you don't pay for that. Okay, so we understand why it says Koitzim and Kamma. And Godish. What about Kamma? Kamma Lamali, standing grain, growing grain. Lamali, why mention that at all? To teach us Ma Kamma Baguli, to compare everything that was burnt, for which you're accountable for, to a Kamma. Ma Kamma Baguli, just like Kamma is visible, exposed, growing out there and exposed. Avkoil Baguli, likewise, you're only chayiv if your fire burns something which was exposed and visible, as opposed to something covered up, which we called taman, right? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda the Machayiv aniske taman beish. But Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says you're chayiv if your fire burns something which is hidden as well. So then the question is, Kamma Lamali, why does the Torah mention Kamma? Answer is, L'Rambe's Kabbalah Kaima, to teach us that if the fire burns anything which stands, Rashi says, Ba'alei Chaim, living beings, V'ilonis, trees, tall creatures or items, so you chayiv for that as well. For Rabbanan, L'Rambe's Kabbalah Kaima Minalu, how do the Rabbanan know if your fire burns down a tree or a living being? You chayiv. Nafkulu Bava Kamma. It says Bava Kamma. The word oy is extra to include even those. For Rabbi Yehuda, oy miboy l'chalek. According to Rabbi Yehuda, oy is not extra. It's coming to sort of split. Don't think that you only chayiv if you burn the Kodesh and the oy. Each one separately is sufficient to make you a chayiv. V'Rabbanan l'chalek minalahu. Now the Rabbanan who learned oy for that other drasha, how do they know l'chalek? Nafkulu Bava Kamma. It says oy again, Bava Kamma. Rabbi Yehuda answers, well, I did the Kasav Rachman Bava Kamma. Once it says Oy by the Kamma, for the reason we just mentioned, Kasav Bava Sada, so uses matching wording, it says Bava Sada as well. Now, Sada Lamali, we understand why it says Kaitzim, why it says Gadish, why it says Kaima. What about Sada? Sada Lamali, La Suya, to include Lichacha Nira, if your fire charred your friend's, plowed field, the actual earth was sort of charred, jumped around and singed his stones. So even though it's just a very slight damage, it's not a real consumption, you're chayiv as well. So then the other way, why couldn't the pasuk just simply say sada? Now I would say, well, if you're chayiv even for just slight damage, so certainly a real damage, a full consumption like the burning up the grain. Why do we need to have all the others listed once it says sada? Tzricha is needed because Rachman is sada. If it would only say sada, I would say, look, I would switch the meaning. Masha besada in midi achrin eloi. Only chayiv. Masha besada, something which grows in a field, like tavua, like grain, like plants, but not the actual earth which is damaged. Midi achrin eloi. That's why the Torah has to go and say first kamma. So now I know that kamma is, standing grain. And then when it says sada, what's sada for? Growing in the sada, we already know that from the Gadish, from the Kaitzim, right? Sada must be alluding to the actual earth, the field itself, and I'm chayiv for that as well. So bottom line, a person's irresponsible with his fires, they go out and burn, you're chayiv for basically everything. Tamam, that's a machlikas. Now we start with a piece of Agadata. Omar Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmeni Omar B'Yenesan Ein Puronos Ba'ala Olam Ela Bezman Sh'Rishayim Ba'Olam. Tragedy only strikes the world when there are Rishayim who misbehave. Ve'ena Mascheles Ela Min HaTzadikim Tchila. But we're meant to know that although the Rishayim are ultimately responsible for triggering this tragedy, but the Tzadikim who are meant to protect, who are meant to be positive, influences, and ultimately they should be taking responsibility for what goes on in the world. So the Puranas unfortunately strikes them first. So now we're going to have a drasha based on the pasuk that we just learned about the chiv of Eish. We're going to look at it from a different perspective, from a Agadata perspective. Kiseitze Eish is a reference to Hashem's fire, to tragedy, to punishment, chas v'shalom. Umatza koitzim. It goes out and finds it, eats up the thorns. Emasa eish yoytze. When do we even have these misfortunes? Bizman shekoitzim between lo, when there are thorns, which is a reference to Rishayim that are available, that are there for the fire. But even though they're the cause through their actions, but tzadikim are the ones who get it first. Shenamar v'nechal gadish. The pasuk speaks about the fire going to burn up the thorns. V'nechal gadish, but it was already consumed. The gadish, the high quality produce, the grain, was already consumed beforehand. V'nechal gadish means v'achal gadish leinemer. It doesn't say it's going to go and now burn the gadish. El v'nechal gadish. Before it even gets to the thorns, the gadish has already been burnt up. That's referring to the tzadikim. Shenechal gadish kvar. It was already before the Rishayim. Tanur Yosef. What does the pasuk mean when it says by Makas B'chayros Avatem lo teitzu ish Pesach beis yad boiker? Be careful when Hashem strikes the B'chayrim of Mitzrayim. You stay home. Kima shenitan rishus lamashkas. Why do we have to stay home? We're innocent. We're tzaddikim. We're Bnei Yisrael. Because once the mashkas was given the power, there's tragedy striking. Eilei mafchin ben tzaddikim l'rishayim. Sometimes there's no differentiation. Everybody gets swept along in one swoop. Not only that, tzaddikim suffer first. Shenemar yichratim tzadik v'rasha. I'll cut off from you the rasha, but it says tzaddik first, because that's first in the order as we explained. Bachi Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef started crying on this. Kuli hay nami la'ayin doimin. So all this effort, all these tzaddikim la'ayin doimin, they're worth nothing. When tragedy strikes, the tzaddikim have no protection. Amalei Abai responded, no, actually it's a good thing. Tivusuhul gabayu, it's a good thing for them that they're not present when tragedy strikes the world. Tzaddik was taken away before tragedy struck, so they don't experience and participate in the Puranas, as we find the Second World War. Many tzaddikim were taken away right before the war. Chavetz Chaim, Chaim Weiser. May ro'o nesav tzaddik. Amar Ravida Mara, La'olam Yikanis Adam b'chitoiv v'yetzi b'chitoiv. When a person travels, do it responsibly. When you leave in the morning. Kitoiv, Rashi says, is a reference to the sunlight. Vayara lakim sa'or kitoiv. So it's good to leave when you can see things, when you can guard yourself from robbers, and spiritual, mazikim as well, because they roam the streets and the roads at nighttime. So leave in the morning. You should enter in the morning, come into town in the morning, rather than coming late at night. And leaving in the morning should also be in the morning. Once again, Klal Yisrael were instructed to only leave Mitzrayim in the morning. So this is a lesson for all time. Wait until the robbers and the mazikim are away, and then the roads are clear. On the topic of the mazikim, dever be'ir, if there's a plague striking the town, kanes raglecha, stay home. Kanes raglecha is a reference to staying home. Don't go out in the street. Protect yourself. So by Bakas Bechers, Klal Yisrael were instructed to stay home and be protected from all hazards, physical and spiritual. Vaymer, we have another pasuk which says the same. Leich ami, boy b'chadarecha, uskar d'las chabadcha. My nation, go, lock up your doors, stay home. So we see a time of misfortune. You protect yourself, you stay home. Vaymer, another pasuk, mechutz t'shakal cherev, mechadorim emo, when there's a sakon of the cherev, the malach hamav is outside. So going into hiding, protecting oneself indoors, somehow protects us even from these spiritual, powers that are roaming outside. Now, why do we need 3 psukim for the same thing? My vaymer, v'chitema, perhaps I would say, in reference to the pasuk of Makas Bechiris, maybe that's different. Hanimila bilelya. Because that took place at night, which is a time when the mazikim really have, more reign, more control. But during daytime, there's no issue going outside to Hashmai. Comes the next pasuk, Leich ami boy b'chadarecha uskad l'secha, referring even to daytime. Now, what's the next pasuk? V'chitema, perhaps I would say, well, going indoors is only good when there's no fear indoors. But when there's just as much fear and pachad inside one's home from these, spiritual attackers. So kinafik yasef beini inshi. So maybe it's better, instead of locking yourself at home, yourself go sit between people and socialize. But safsa ba'alma, go just spend time with people. Tfei ma'ali, that would actually be beneficial, help you. Toshma comes the third pasuk and says no. Mechutz t'shakal cherev mechadorim ema, which means af agav the mechadorim ema. Even if a person still fears indoors, mechutz t'shakal cherev, be careful of the cherev that's outside. Rava, what does Rava do? B'idan rischa, in a time of sort of anger of Hashem Yisbarach, in a time of dever, a time of plague, have a sochar kavi. He would close his windows, close up all the openings to his home. T'chsiv ki Allah Mabes b'chalanenu, because death came up to our windows. So basically, locking that out would be helpful. Tana Rabbanon, Dever be'ir, Ra'av be'ir, there's hunger in town. Pazer raglecha, a person should find elsewhere. He should travel elsewhere to find food. Shenema vayirav ba'aretz. What did Avram Avinu do when there was famine? Vayered Avram Mitzrayim v'lo sham. Vaymer, we have another pasuk which says the same. This was by the 4 people that were Mitzrayim, and they were standing outside the city, and they were struck by famine. And they decided to opt and go to the Machna Aram, to the camp of the enemies, to try to find food. If we approach the city, there is famine, we're going to die. So they went and they found another place. It says, what's the point of bringing the extra pasuk? Perhaps I would say, when do we advise you to leave the town? When leaving doesn't entail danger on its own. But like in the case of the Abba Mitzrayim, going to the other location, to the Machna Aram, in itself introduce a new element of danger. So perhaps there we just stay put. Hashma, no. We make any effort, any attempt to save ourselves. We're even going to submit ourselves to the Aram camp, which was the enemy. At least we have a chance. They allow us to live, we'll survive. Tana Rabbanon. Dever beer, if there's plague roaming around town, a person should keep away from the middle of the road. You know why? That's where the Malach HaMavis positions himself, because he sort of takes center stage. This is his day. Where does he go? So stay to the side. Because once from heaven they empower him to strike tragedy, he walks from all the road. So therefore, to better protect oneself, should be off to the side. On the other hand, when things are fine, shalom be'ir, when things are safe and healthy, then keep away from the sides. Because at that point he's not empowered to do his thing. So where does he go? He hides on the sides. He walks along the sides, so keep away from him. When there's a plague in town, the person should not enter the Beis HaKnesses himself. Why? That's where the Malach HaMavis stores his tools. Malach HaMavis mafkid sham kelim. That's where he stores his kelim. Interesting. In a Makam of Kedusha, that's where he finds his place of refuge. That's only because there are no kids learning there, nor is there a minion conducting their services. Otherwise you're protected. He's certainly not going to be there. If one sees dogs crying, it's a sign that Malach HaMavis arrived in town. If they're laughing, it's a time for Yonavi. He entered town. That's only if there's no female amongst them, because in that case, that could be the reason for this behavior. They were sitting Mar, Amarle, one of these two Amiraim, turned to Rabbi Yitzchak and says, you know what? What about giving us, teaching us a halacha? Umar Amarle, Lema Maragant. The other one said, no, I want to hear a Agada from you. Pasach, Lema Maraganta. So he tried with Agada, tried to tell him a good word. The other one didn't let him. He wanted halacha. Pasach Lema Mashmatz. Okay, so he switched to halacha. The other one didn't allow him. So he sort of was stuck. Amar Lem says, you know what this reminds me of? It's comparable to a person has two wives, one older, one younger. One is a younger woman who wants him to look young, an older woman who wants him to look old. So what do they do to his hair? The younger one pulls out his white hair, so he looks young. It's just a mashal. Of course, one is not allowed to do that, but it's just a sort of a joke. So she pulls out the white. The older one wants him to look older, so she pulled out his black hair. So this fellow ends up looking like he's bald from all sides. So basically, I'm in a predicament. I can't say Agada, you don't like me. I can't say Shmatza, you don't like me. So he started thinking. He says, you know what? I'll try to find something that makes you both happy. If that's the case, I found something that I'm going to tell you, the Shabil Tarvaich, which will make you both happy. We'll have an element of halacha and agada. Here it goes. So we have the pasuk regarding the fire burning, but there's a deeper meaning as well. It's going on Hashem's fire, when Hashem punishes. So here it says, Teitzeh mi'atzma. It went on its own. It wasn't, actually personally, spread. Okay, the fire just went and burnt. And then it says, Shalim Yishalim, Hamaver Sabeir, the one who actually burnt. He burnt down the city. So it's alluding to the person doing it, not just the fire going on its own. So what's the point here? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu. So by way of this pasuk, Hashem is sending us a message in terms of Klal Yisrael and their tragic gullus experiences, including the Churban Beis Hamikdash, right? So, although Kaviyachal Hashem is not responsible for the fire, we, right? It's through our Klal Yisrael's misdeeds that generated the fire and the Churban Beis Hamikdash. But Hashem sort of took it upon himself, as though he took responsibility, as though I did it, and I have to pay for it, I have to rebuild it. Ani. He'd say, Hashem says, I'm taking responsibility. I burned down Yerushalayim. Shenamar vayotzes eish b'tzion. V'atoicha yisei deseo. I burnt the fire. V'ani osed livnoi beish. And therefore, I feel responsible. I'm going to rebuild it with fire. The same method used to burn is sort of going to rejuvenate, turn around, and be used as a positive energy. The same fire, the same warmth, the same passion that was misguided at that point will now be redirected and serve as the guiding energy and the material to build the Beis Hamikdash and generate Avas Hashem. So, in this pasuk we find a very beautiful Agada lesson that Hashem promises to come back and redo everything. And from this pasuk as well, from the same sort of diuk, we can learn a halacha, shmatza, halacha. Because pascha hakasa b'niske mamayna, v'siyah b'niske gufa. Why does the pasuk in fact start by relating to fire as just like, it's your thing, it's not you, it's your thing. The fire went out, it's like your property, like your belonging, like you're doing, but it's not personally your act. V'siyah b'niske gufa. But then the conclusion is personal. Hamaver sabeira. What is that telling you? So in terms of responsibility, the Torah regards it as your act. We had this Gemara way back that it's just like shooting an arrow. Well, it's the arrow, it's not me. No, it's your kinetic energy that the fire is just an expression of the person's act, and the nafkamina would be, halacha l'maaseh, Rashi says, for the arba dvarim. So if your animal goes and damages, it's just your moment, your property at damage, so you pay for damages and you move on. But when a person actually physically hurts somebody, you pay arba dvarim. Aside from actual damages, diminishing market value, you pay for pain, embarrassment, loss of wages, right? So how do we treat damage by way of fire? Is it just like you're a mumming? So then you put from the arba dvarim, the extra payments. But the Torah says no, it's like you did it. Hamavar sabeira, it's your doing. And therefore we treat it like niske gufa, like you yourself did it. And if there's room for the arba dvarim, if there's pain and all that, you have to pay that as well. So he sort of wrapped together agada and halacha in the same pasuk. We have a pasuk in Shmuel where David HaMelech was sort of desiring and he wanted water, and of course we're going to see it's just a drasha. It's referring to something more halachic than just asking for water. Who's going to give me the water? Ashar is a reference to the Sanhedrin, the court that would sit at the gateway of the Beis Hamikdash. Vayivku shleishes hagiborim b'machne plishtim vayishavu mayim mibar beis lechem asher b'ashar b'chul. Okay, what happened here? What was he asking for? Amar Rava, it was actually a halachic discussion. Amar Rav Nachman Toman b'ishkom b'oilei. It turns out that some of David HaMelech's men burnt down a gadish, a grain pile belonging to Israel, and inside there were some tools, some kalim. Do you pay for those hidden things? Toman b'ishkom b'oilei. That was his question. Because remember, we had a machlokes, right? So he wanted to ask the Sanhedrin, Ik Rabbi Yehuda, Ik Rabbanan. Do we pass like the Rabbanan that you're pato? Or like Rabbi Yehuda that you pay? And whatever it is the answer, and we don't have the answer in the Pesukim. That's one pshat. Rav Huna Amar, Gedishim, the Sa'irim, the Yisrael Havu. What happened was there were grain piles of barley belonging to Jewish owners. Inside of which were hiding plishtim. They knew that. They got intelligence reports. Inside these piles are the plishtim. So the question was, we have to save ourselves. They were under attack. They have to go and burn down those grain to get the piles to kill the Kamma. The question was, are you responsible? They have to pay back the owners. Is a person allowed to? So Taisa says, of course, a person is allowed to. It's pikuach nefesh. The question is more: am I responsible? Do I have to repay the owner for these, for lost value? With mom and chaver using, your friend's property, are you allowed to do that? Basically, do you have to pay back the owner? Shochle, they responded, you're not allowed to do that. And the Farshim explain, it doesn't necessarily mean it's asr. It means to say that in terms of not paying, it's asr. So you have to at least pay the owner. Aval ata melech, but you have an exception. You're a king, right? Aval melech ata, aval ata melech ata, umelech piritz, a melech is allowed to breach, through all kinds of barriers, lasses le derech, to travel through, without any protest. So basically, the special dispensation for a king to break through fields and whatever and cause damage for himself and his entourage. So in this case, you're really potter. That's another pshat. Rabbanan, there's a third pshat as to what happened here, as to what his question was and what the answer. Rabbanan b'teim, some say Rabba b'Mariam, where they explain like this. Gedishim dis'ern the Yisrael havel. There were these barley piles belonging to Yisraelim owners. Ugdishim da dashim de plishtim. And thereby there were piles of plishtim owned beans. and they had to feed their animals. The David HaMelech had to feed his troops. And the question was, can we make an exchange without consent, right, of the owners? Can we take the barley, the Jewish barley, to feed our animals, with the mindset to exchange it, to pay back the owners using the lentils that we're going to take from the Plishtim? Allowed to do that? The Sanhedrin responded, and by the way, later the Gemara will tell us that this was done with Mesiras Nefesh because the people who went to ask were endangering their lives, they were under attack. So they came back with the answer. The Bezdin responded, typically you cannot do that, but you're a king, you're different. Chavel Yoshev Rasha Gezelo Yishalem, which means Afal Pish Gezelo Mishalem, even if the Rasha repays for the thievery, but it's still Asr, Rashu. So typically you can't just make this deal without the owner's consent. Aval ata melachata, you're a king, you're different. Melech Peretz, Lasas Leged, you can do what you want. So there were several pshatim. First pshat was Taman Beish. Second pshat was the Plishtim were hiding inside the things. Third, to exchange this for that. Now, so we fully understand the third pshat in terms of making this swap, because the pasuk alludes to two different types of piles: grain, barley, and beans, because they wanted to make that switch. One pasuk we have Vaitisham Chalkas Hasodam Le'ad Dosh and beans. The other pasuk speaks about barley. So that works with the psuk. But the second shot, which involves burning to get to the fugitives, why discuss barley and beans? So the answer is because the Plishtim were hiding in the barley and the beans. So now according to the second shot, question was, burn down the piles to get to the fugitives. It turns out David HaMelech did not accept this special heter given to the king. He says, no, I'm saving the material, I don't want to burn the Jewish-owned grain. But according to Pshat number 3, the question was swapping. In which way did he say? He didn't say, they weren't burning it. What do you mean saved it? He didn't allow them to make the switch, thereby saving the owner this heartache. Okay, according to Pshat 2 and 3, it involved both barley and beans, so we fully understand the two psukim of the barley and the beans. According to Pshat number 1, question was, are we responsible for having burnt something which was hidden? Why discuss beans and barley? It's all the same point. Something hidden inside something, right? Says the Gemara, the answer would be Taman. Yeah, there were two separate questions. Taman was one question. And actually, one of the other two scenarios did present themselves, whether it was a question of swapping or finding fugitives. So both issues were being dealt with, Taman and one of the other ones. So that explains why we have one pasuk describing barley and one pasuk describing beans, because they're two separate questions. Continues the Gemara. So it's all good and well if you hold like Pshat 2 and 3. The pasuk says, he didn't want to drink them, which is a reference to he didn't want to benefit from the Jewish property. Amar, he says, since there's an element of Israel and Nichli, I don't want to benefit from it. But according to the first Pshat, just a simple question. The stuff was burnt. Do we have to pay or not? So, what do you mean he didn't want to accept it? Look, Gemara, it's a halacha. They told him it's plain halacha. It wasn't like the other things where they were sort of giving him a discount and a special dispensation as a king. This was a plain halacha. Right? So let's say according to Chachamim, you're potter for Taman. Well, what's there not to accept? Right? It's an equal halacha that applies to anybody. It says the Gemara, Michti Gemara the Shalchale. My lo ya'avad David l'shteis. What does it mean he didn't want to accept it? Lo yamrinim mishmai. Oh, it's a totally different point. That he didn't want to quote this halacha related to the Geburim, the strong men who went to Esther Sanhedrin. Meaning, even though he heard the halacha, he accepted it and he, acted upon it, but going forward, he didn't relate it to these people. He didn't say, well, I heard from these people. You know why? Because he says, Kach mikublanim beis dina shel Shmuel Ramasi. I have a Kabbalah tradition from the Bezdin of Shmuel Hanavi, who lived in Ramasayim Tzefim, that's why it's called Shmuel Ramasi, who told us, Kol ha-moisr atzmai lamos al divrei Torah ein oimrim dvar halacha mishmai. Listen to this. If a person endangers himself to go hear Torah, it's not the way to do it. So you don't relate the halacha to him. You don't quote it in his name. He shouldn't have done it. Should not have been Meiser Nefesh. And here Rashi, the Maharsha says, even though typically Shliach Mitzvah is safe, but he was excessively dangerous. And the Maharsha further explains that the whole point of quoting a source, right? The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, when you do that, you bring Geula, redemption to the world, and a person who acts in this irresponsible way, even though it was sort of for a virtuous purpose, but it's irresponsible, Hashem doesn't want that, and you don't relate the halacha to him. Ein roi shetavei geula al yada. Interesting marsha. So bottom line is, he sort of ignored the source, even though he acted upon the halacha. Now the pasuk concludes, Vayasich oisel Hashem. He sort of gave it away to Hashem. David HaMelech. What does that mean? Bishlam el-madam tarti. So according to the second and third pshat, he sacrificed. He could have acted differently. He could have taken advantage, so to speak, of his position and benefited, but no. Mishum da'avad Hashem Shemayim. He did it for Hashem's sake. He didn't want to, get involved in any element of Isser. Rashi says, if these things are usher for ordinary people, I don't want to act differently, I don't want to create a laxness. So he was Meiser Nefesh, he gave it away to Hashem. So that's why it says, Vayasech oisel Hashem. Elul madam tomen beish. But according to the first pshat, that it was just a simple question. The fire burnt Taman, Machayv or Potter. And they said, let's say Potter. So what does it mean? Vayasech oisel Hashem. What does the pasuk mean that he gave away, that he related it to Hashem? My vayasech oisel Hashem. The answer is, like we explained, in terms of the davar b'shem omer, the amrinim b'shmei the Gemara. Instead of quoting the Giborim who related the halacha, he sort of ignored the source and he went sort of straight to Gemara, meaning he just said it over without a source, anonymously, as though it was taught in the Beis Medrash. So without a name, without a source, vayasech oisam l'Hashem. Okay, let's recap today's daf. We spoke about the two ways of saying liba, niba, basically meaning the same thing. Why is it different than Shabbos, where the wind is incorporated into my melacha, because there it's a point of melechas machshavas. Nezaken doesn't work like that. Anything that fire burns, whether it's eitzim, avanim, afar, yochayiv, taman is a machlekes. One must be careful from mazikim, even if he's totally innocent. Keep away. Watch yourself. Tzaddikim are responsible for the tzibur as well. We have the pasuk kiseitze eish shalom yishalom hamavar saberu. It has sort of a twofold lesson, halacha, which tells us that it's personal, it's ishem shem chitzav, it's personal act, which makes you chayiv even for the additional arba payments. We have the Agada where Hashem says, even though you caused it, I'm going to go and look after you. We have the story of David HaMelech with three versions in terms of what happened. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.